So, welcome everybody to the second hour of Mindshifters Radio. Today is Friday, November the 3rd, 2023, and our call-in number is 563-999-3581. And press 1, and that puts you in the queue to talk to us, and we'd love to hear your comments and questions because that makes this your show. I'm going to saw Susan's hand just pop up, so I'm going to go ahead and turn her microphone on. We'll give Michael just a moment to get dialed in. How are you doing today, Miss Susan?
I'm doing really well, Jeanie. How about you?
I'm doing good. I had good physical therapy again this morning, and
oh boy, how's that going?
Michael, we already have Susan on. It went really good. It's good. Enjoying the treatment and hopefully get my hip and my shoulder to quit hurting so I can sleep the whole night, so Michael can sleep the whole night.
Well, that's just unfair. Okay.
Yeah, no. But they're really good. It's I was pleased to have found them, and the chiropractor wasn't, he helped, but it still just wasn't getting better, so taking it to the next level.
Right.
So,
good. Well,
Michael's been
telling us.
Yeah. So he's been outside working on the compost this morning. We've already closed the gardens up, but he was putting some of the compost and mulch and things around their asparagus plants.
Mm-hmm.
Looks, if they produce as well as that, right now they look like bushes, but if they produce as well as they've bushed, we'll have lots of asparagus next year.
Oh boy, good.
Yeah. So,
well, I did have a question. I actually wanted to ask it to Dr. Tim, but he was on a total roll, and by the time he opened it up, I thought it was too long of a question, and it wasn't really relevant. I also wanted to just give a short clip about a dream I had of our Michael, where he came up to me and put his arms around me, and we had this amazingly warm, sweet hug, and then he said, "You are my medicine for the time being."
Oh, wow.
And I thought, isn't that such a, I felt so happy about it, but I feel as if that dream comes as a result of doing the work we've been doing for just weeks and weeks, more than, since the beginning, but most recently. And I told him the dream, and he said, "Well, that's true." He just looked at me and said,
"Oh."
What a nice acknowledgement.
Isn't that sweet? Yeah.
Yay.
So Dr. Tim has been reading The Way of Mastery, which includes giving up knowing anything, giving up the ego that thinks it knows things, and that's been very helpful because when I feel my hackles go up and my heart tightens, and mainly it's around Michael and what I think he should be doing as opposed to what he is doing, then I reinstate the intention to not know anything, and it really helps a lot. I do the wake-up sheets, too, because I have to look at that stuff. But I had
like
another
forgiveness.
Question. It does. It
sounds like the canceling of a goal. And you might even become more specific in those situations with the specific goal you have, because that'll have a more powerful, detergent effect on your own mind.
Yeah, I do. I do have specific goals for him, and I do put them in the worksheets. But it's just like, what is it? It's like a cesspool. I'll clean it out, and it'll come right back. Clean it out, come in. This is the 77 times 77 times 77 times 7. So anyway, ongoing. But I had a question related to how he is and the fact that he is so much like my grandson, Jacob. I wanted to ask you, have you heard of the Berkheimer tests or evaluation or whatever they call it?
Not
is it
familiar
Berkheimer? Berkman. No, Berkman. Berkman assessment. That's what they call it, I think. Berkman assessment. Jacob's mom, my daughter, suggested that Jacob take this test. Jake, because it helps you figure out what you're suited for in the way of a vocation. And Jake said, Mom, I already know what I want to do, and I know what I can do, and I don't want to take it. And she begged him. She said, I have seen this test administered a lot in my parish. I've asked for it in certain cases. And it's always a revelation to see what comes up. Well, he finally took it. And among many things, one thing it showed is that he is an extreme introvert who is happiest working by himself in whatever ways he wants to, sometimes on the computer, programming songs, making recordings, but by himself, or composing songs by himself. And so Jacob tells his mom, he said, see, I told you so, that's what I want. But she said, okay, then why do you want to be a performer? Why do you want to be out there on stage, strutting your stuff and being looked at by hundreds and thousands of people, whatever it is? And he said, I can't explain that. And she, as a result of the test, was discouraging him from becoming the actor and singer that he wants to be. Well, here's Michael living in my house, who goes out there, and Tim Bingham goes with him now and sits and listens to his gigs. And they're very few. They're at old people's homes, and he plays oldies, and the old people clap, and they sing, and this is a memory unit in one of them. They get up and dance. Some of them know the words. Michael's on cloud 9. He is so outgoing and loving toward those old folks. And he comes home saying, this is what I should be doing. This is it. But then he'll disappear into the basement, and we won't see him for a day or two, except to take out his dog. And my daughter asked, she's in an Al-Anon group, and a lady spoke up in there. She said, what is this? That my mom has this man who's like my son. He seems to love being out there, and then he otherwise disappears. And this woman spoke up, and she said, I know about this. I encourage your son to do what he wants to do. That's how they interact to the extent they do. That's how they have their human contact. That's how they feel fed. They've got to go out there and do that. But they're out there as an introvert. They have a wall around themselves, which is the learned material. They are not extemporizing. They are actually protected by the fact that whatever they present is already prepared. They're not vulnerable. They don't feel in any kind of danger. And she said, encourage him to do that. I've seen that before, and I thought, wow, this is mind-blowing. So I wondered if you had any thoughts about any of that.
Michael, you're talking, but you're muted.
Well, thank goodness you're still on, because Tim went.
Excuse me, I'll hit my mute button.
That's all right. Tim Hayes went silent, and I thought, oh, we had to hang up and dial in a couple of times to get him back. And he had to dial in, too, so I'm glad you're still there. Anyway, I'll be quiet.
I'm here. So in the classic world, what you're describing, in the extreme, is what the world calls schizophrenia.
Oh.
And my offering would be resolution to that comes from looking at the conflicting goals and starting to move the conflicting goals, the ones that are widely divergent, that drive the mind in one direction. Oh, I got to go hide. In the other direction, I got to go be out there. And start to cancel the extremes of those goals, clean up the mind, and there's going to come a point of integration, and that will tend to disappear. And my offering is what I hear with Michael, and I think I've heard in your descriptions of Jacob's relationship with family, is that it's from terror. It's just plain old-fashioned terror, and the goal is to protect oneself. And remember that feelings. People talk about, we want to get somewhere where they have a feeling of safety. There is no such place as a place where there's a feeling of safety. feeling of safety comes from the thoughts that are moving within us. That's where feelings come from. Yeah. And so if he starts cleaning up the thought disorders that produce this feeling of unsafe, i.e., I've got to go hide away, I can only do this by myself, people will criticize me, they'll destroy me, whatever it is, as that starts to clean up, then the feeling of being unsafe that comes from those thought disorders will tend to disappear. And my take would be he would tend, in either case, they would tend to more walk out into the stage where they really want to be acknowledged and want to be admired and want to express themselves. But it's those thought disorders that, in the extreme, as I say, would be classified as schizophrenia that leave people with conflicting realities. And so once again, I don't know of a human problem, or I should say a non-human problem, those who are functioning without the active presence of love in their minds, that isn't resolved by removing what isn't true. And what isn't true are the thought disorders that keep us locked into the drama and trauma aspect of life. Mm. And of course, if I'm in, the article we've been talking about off and on for the last couple of weeks, Job got down to the very root of it. That which I feared most has come upon me. And as long as one holds those thought disorders, we have an influence on literally what happens in the physiological world. And as we clean those up, our influence removed literally changes what happens in the world.
Yeah. I think one thing you said isn't true. I think both Michael and even more with Jacob, he does want tremendous affirmation coming from the audience. And he's very talented. Right. And he gets that. But he gets it because he's got a canned program. He gets it because he feels safe, because he isn't really there in his immediately creative innovating
my take is
self. Yeah.
My take is he gets it because in that environment he's chosen, or probably not chosen, but on the level of decision, the thought disorders of unsafety are quelled because of this perception of I've got a wall, I've got protection, I know what I'm going to do, I know what the response is going to be, and it's going to be okay. But again, it's got to do with where does the feeling come from if he's not safe? If he's in that audience and he's just rocking away, either one of them, and somebody stands up and says, you suck. What do you suppose is going to happen to either of them? Those thought disorders are going to start to fire. Yeah, and so, again, offering the tool, and I understand from what you've shared about Jacob's relationship, and certainly, I've had some experience with homeless people, and the horrific attack and insanity that they're exposed to, and the fact that there's a lot of mental infirmity anyway. It's definitely a work to be done. And, the challenge is to pull somebody out of the shell far enough to say, this is self-inflicted, and you can change it. That's the big challenge.
Instances, I'm hoping with Michael, I don't think he's going to be changing that much. Although in the dream, he said to me, "You're my medicine," and then he said, "That's really true." In waking moments when we spoke about it, so I don't know how much healing can take place just by our having him with us and being safe. And I'm not even sure he considers us. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. My offering would be is the deeper the level upon which you can extend the hem of your garment, the deeper his safety is going to be, and the more profound will his healing be. And the same thing with Jacob. And, you've given Jacob that lifeline, and from what you've shared, and some of the language that Jacob's gotten into, you very likely literally saved his life from ending his life himself. Because you were that medicine.
Oh, that may be
because
true.
You extended that energy, that invisible energy that in the scriptures was called the hem of his garment. that presence of love.
I'm so glad you're saying this now and in this way, because I've had this idea in my mind for both him and Michael that I have to have them do wake-up sheets. Well, that's not going to happen, at least not right away. Lukey did one, and he never forgot it. But these two other
guys, that's all it takes.
It's what?
That's all it takes. And, you know, one doesn't have to do a worksheet in order to apply forgiveness. I mean, if you can point out to either of them, you'll notice that you're in a pretty settled space as long as everybody around you is complying with the goals you have for them. But you'll notice that when someone isn't complying with those goals, that's when you go into this regressive state. So I just offer that, you know, there are two directions you can approach that from. And they both seem like they've got the cognitive awareness to understand this. There are two directions you can apply. You know, you can retreat to a space where nobody can, there's nobody involved in your goal, so it doesn't matter. You can, you know, refuse to interact, or you could just cancel that goal. There's another approach. If they're violating your goal, yeah, it'd be nice to get them to stop violating your goal, to cooperate with everything you want. But the other end of that conversation is you could just cancel the goal and relieve yourself of that stress. And that could be the simplest worksheet they could possibly do. And that explanation spoken over and over and over and over again, and maybe many different creative ways to either or both of them, will probably give you a new level of the ability when you're looking for what do I need to do, and you've forgotten that there's a goal to be canceled, that you'll get a new level of that. As we teach best that which we most need to learn, and I'm speaking from experience. And as you speak it to them, when they can start to speak it backward, when it gets into their regulatory speech, then it will become their behavior. So and right now, what's in their regulatory speech is protection, and there's something wrong with the world, and it's going to get me. And so that's what regulates feelings and behavior.
Both true. I mean, Michael in our house, he says, I can't spend time out there with those bad people. I mean, it's like everybody out there is bad.
Yep.
So,
yep.
Or almost everybody. So, but if you wouldn't mind repeating, what is the simple thing that I could be saying to them? I got so excited about hearing it that I didn't hear it.
Well, just inviting them to notice that, you know, you're in a pretty level space until somebody violates the goal you have for them.
Okay.
And notice that's when upset comes.
Yeah.
And notice it's always a similar quality of upset. It's a why is this happening to me again?
Yeah.
The reason for the upset is because that's inside of you. Now, one solution to that dilemma is you could just get away from everybody and everything, and then, you know, you'd have solved the problem because then there's nobody there to hurt you.
That's where I worry that we're enabling him, Michael.
Well, but as he's acknowledged, you're also his medicine, and he's moving forward. So, but just to get into the speech system, and you might find many different creative ways to do it. You know, he's talking about those bad people in the world, and that might take the form of, well, what would it take? You know, is there some particular person that's bad? What would you have them do to prove to you that they're good? And he'd express a goal. And that might be a place to say, now, what would happen if you just totally let go of that goal in your mind for them? And the every which way, you know, the old song, every which way but loose, every which way that you can present that basic set of ideas and the ability to cancel the goal will change the internal dynamics. There'll come a point where when it's heard enough, you know, the way that regulatory speech happens, and regulatory speech is a speech from the that regulates our physiology, that regulates our cellular chemistry, that regulates our behavior, and that regulates our creative process. And regulatory speech starts from the outside. We hear somebody speak it.
Mm-hmm.
Then we speak it. We speak it ourselves. We speak it out loud. Done often enough, and especially if experienced to reduce stress, then that speech becomes silent speech. Somebody says it within themselves, and then if they experience that as a way to reduce stress, it will become regulatory speech, and they'll just do it automatically. Speech runs the emotions, speech runs the mind, speech runs behavior. And so by speaking it in as many ways as possible, it will sooner or later become part of the speech system, and that's the first step into becoming behavior. And, you know, giving them a vision of what you see as possible. You know, like, you know, building on the vision of what Tim shared with you about when Michael's doing one of his performances.
Yeah.
And,
I know.
You know, what joy it brings to people, what aliveness, what a gift, what a powerhouse you are. And then to cancel the goals that trigger his thought disorders into activity, and therefore his pain and his fear. And as he starts to get that he could cancel those things, then those energetic patterns will tend to, you know, think of it as a teeter-totter. Right now they pretty much run the show, but as the energy is shifted, then less and less will they have a say, and more will the real being come into expression in the world. Well, that's pretty awesome that he acknowledges you as his medicine.
Isn't that sweet? Yeah.
It is. And it sounds like administering medicine to him is your medicine.
Yeah. Well,
so you've got many gifts out of this.
When you were talking about all the things he could do, I'm thinking, I got to do that. 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 It was no different.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's
we are all in this together.
Yeah. Well, and one of my thoughts was, oh no, Tim and I are too old. We don't have enough time. This isn't going to get finished. And then I remembered Jeanie said, let it all go there. Stop. You know, stop with all this ego stuff. Just be with the moment, and everything settled down again. Boy, that's a practice. Moment to moment to moment. Yeah, as Tim was reading or saying. So anyway, okay, that's what I wanted to ask you about. Very helpful. Thank you. I think you had a setup with somebody going to call in, so I'm going to get off and listen.
All right, young lady. Well, I did hear from Doug, and Doug is not going to be able to make it, but we do have another young lady, I think, with her hand up. I'm not sure. Do we, Jeanie?
Actually, Celinda said that she had an appointment. She wasn't going to be able to do it today, but you do have another hand up.
Oh, okay.
I believe it is David, 206. You're on the air.
Can you guys hear me?
Hey, young man, we can hear you loud and clear. How do you be?
Oh, I'm doing, I guess I would have to say I'm in a Job-like crisis right now.
Layers moving, okay.
So perfect timing to call in. I was wondering if maybe we can do a worksheet and I can just be stepped through the process so I know that I have some guidance in it and I'm not rushing through it or anything.
Awesome. Let's go for it. What's happening? Give us a little thumbnail.
Oh, wow. Like a little thumbnail.
What you're...
I've had a lot of events in the past, 5 days happen, and it's completely going to my primary care, my mother's relationship and mine and it's just completely reflecting. It's a very bad relationship, and it always has been a very bad relationship. And it's getting played out. And for me, just to accept that this relationship is an actual like reality just brings up like the most terrible heartache, pain that is just so overwhelming that what covers it up is like anger and rage. And I'm getting to this very deep, deep sorrow of accepting that I never had a mother, and nor did I ever have a father or a good family. But what I'm experiencing now is my work. I had to quit my job. I was just being used and being called out in the middle of the night on call, and it was not my order. It was somebody else that should have been on call, and they just keep negotiating and playing favorite. So I had to quit my job. I own an Airbnb. Now I'm a super host. Now my account is frozen because there was a party down there, and I had to like kick people out because they were puking, and it was a really bad mess. And that was just like 3-4 days ago. But this is like bringing up the same type of relationship because, you know, I went to my boss and expressed my issues and just a lot of gaslighting and denying that there is any issue. But this is like a widespread problem amongst all my past coworkers, the same complaints. But now dealing with Airbnb, I had to send in a bunch of like videos on Ring of people puking, passing out, smoking pot, and they're debating it with me, and now they've frozen my account. But it just brings me back to this really bad situation. I mean, it was the most horrible situation I would have to say I went through, and I've been through really bad ones. And I was like 20 years old. I started meditating. I had a very tremendous high anxiety attack of recalling abuse from my father and into my family. And my mom at the time was a psychiatric nurse. And so she goes, well, I'll bring you into the clinic that I'm at, and maybe we can get you some out of that. And I was like, yes, I need something to calm myself down. This is very overwhelming. But what happened was they brought me up to the locked-in unit saying that they're going to do a physical. And when I had my pants down to do the physical, a nurse came behind me and gave me a shot in my butt of a month time release Prolixin shot. And I went into full-blown neuromalignant syndrome, which means I went into full-blown Parkinson's. And so as my body was seizing up, I was saying, I'm going to sue you guys because you're holding me captive. Then the whole process of covering it up happened. And I was not treated for 4 months while I was blacking out and in extreme pain, and my mom enforcing this. Never had any problems before this, just had an anxiety attack, looking for support in a safe situation to unwind and to get my nervous system under control. But I was extremely betrayed. And the relationships I'm running into, say with my boss, with Airbnb right now, are just mimicking the same thing. It's just gaslighting, lying, running me around in circles. So I'm just kind of at this point where I feel very overwhelmed, get a lot of worksheets on it, but I am calling to get your expertise to kind of just really, you know, maybe do a very effective one, or just so I can learn, you know, maybe I'm doing something wrong.
Okay. Well, what aspect of what you've just shared would you see as being most productive at this moment for doing a worksheet?
I guess getting to the deep sorrow, sadness that's coming up, like almost like the devastation of like this cognitive dissonance of like, is this for real? Like, did my mother actually do this? And all the prior stuff. So I feel like that's like the core thing, because I'm kind of done being angry about it. I'm done trying to cover it up and, you know, puff up and trying to maintain some sense of control and being afraid of the sadness. But I feel like the gateway and all the events that are lining up for this is on a very deep healing level, because I've been like like what Job says, trying to avoid the most fearful outcome, possible. And I feel like I'm facing something that I'm starting to accept.
Okay, well, breathing with you to start with.
Okay. Thank you.
So it sounds like the bottom line, the link in the three things that you've shared is that someone you've trusted isn't there for you. Would that be a good bottom line?
Absolutely.
Okay. So if we did a worksheet on that, that seems to be the common theme in terms of, so your mind is producing a construct, a reality that those in authority, those you should be able to trust, you can't trust.
Exactly.
And so would you think doing a worksheet on just authorities, or is there one in particular that's up for you? I mean, with the Airbnb thing right now, is that like really in your face? Should we do something on Airbnb? Is the thing with your boss really in your face? What would be as an object of attention for the worksheet?
I think it is with trust of authority that is being reflected on my relationship with my mother to provide safety, honesty, and normal nurturing of a child on up. And
okay.
I feel like this has been the root of a lot of dysfunction in my life in relationships because the pattern is exactly the same. And
right.
I know I'm drawing this and creating this, and I'm responsible for it on some level. But
ready to be done with it, eh?
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
I hear you loud and clear. So then let's put in number 1B, your feeling. What's the overall emotion that's going on for you?
As the anger resides and then the shaking fear, it is deep sadness, like very, very
okay.
deep grief.
So
yeah.
number 1B, let's do sadness then.
Okay.
And then number 1C, let's put mom's name.
Okay, that's Mary.
Okay. And then just a brief description of when you tap into the sadness.
Yeah, just the desynchronization of any type of, I guess you would have to call it as a child, an infant attachment, an inability to have that established.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, what you're saying is that in that circumstance, it's like there just wasn't a connection available with your mom, or at least a connection you could trust. Okay.
Yeah, from the very start.
Then let's put that in the line after 1C with her name.
Okay.
So can't trust my connection with her.
Exactly.
And then let's go back to number 1A.
Okay.
And let's tap into and remember who you are.
Yes, I am love.
In your processing and the work you've done, how easy is it for you to get in touch with that experience of who you are? Are you able to find that experience?
I mean, right now I'm pretty amazed that I'm able to hold that. To hold that love.
Right. As in regard to self?
To self, yeah. To feel the presence of love. Even though my ribs are shaking and I want to cry, I feel that I am safe and I am feeling love, the presence of love.
Okay, nice work. That's awesome. So starting out with, I, David, who am love, am experiencing deep sadness. And it sounds like there perhaps are a whole other series of worksheets to be done. I think you've probably heard me say before that when I do a worksheet, I've usually got a stack of a dozen blanks behind it. And as I'm touching into, each aspect of it, when I find when I complete a worksheet, I've usually got uncovered 4 or 5 other worksheets to be done.
I agree with this one.
So then I'd be making notes on some of these other energetic patterns that are going on along with the sadness.
Okay. I have a notebook here.
You mentioned the anger. Do you feel like you're complete with that, or have you let go of it for the moment? Where does that stand for you?
I feel like I've let go of it, and I feel that the shock is not there, which kind of this wide-eyed little child shock, and I feel like I am moving into, like, deeply into acceptance, and I do feel it is like all in my ribs and in my sides of shaking, and it is extreme grief, sadness, like a lot. And I need to get there. I need to go through this and not keep revisiting it with just the anger and the rage when these triggers do happen with these other relationships and events. Yeah.
So is it clear to you that the event with your mom, the event with boss, the event with the housing thing are triggers for what's inside of you? Thought disorders that you hold that, literally it sounds like you've been able to locate where they are physiologically in your body, in your ribs. But these are energetic patterns that come from your thoughts at this moment.
Yes, these are my thoughts of having zero self-worth.
Okay, so there's your next worksheet then. So that would be worksheet on self. Make a note. And having zero self-worth.
Yeah. And also not feeling a part of community, humanity. Like very isolated, vacant, totally disconnected.
So at this moment, I'm going to just invite you to just tap into, have you done the love exchange experience that we do?
No, I've listened to it. I don't know exactly what it is, but I would like to learn.
Well then, let's do it.
Okay, cool.
So, right now there's a whole community of people that's listening to this show. And to be aware that this community, when we think about the energy of active present love, it's such a high frequency that there's nothing we know of in the physical universe that can block it or stop it. Everything, all matter is transparent to it, all space is transparent to it. So in the love exchange experience, what happens is you close your eyes, you go inside, you find the deepest, clearest love that you can. Tap into it, that love that you're talking about, that you're finding yourself more and more able to connect.
Yes, I can feel it for sure.
Okay. So tapping into that. And I'm inviting everybody in the audience, and Jeanie and myself are doing it as well, of extending that love, using the imagination to see that energy being exchanged, being sent out from yourself, through yourself, which means you have to receive it, To me, to Jeanie, to our whole audience,
Yes.
which means people all over the globe. And breathing in and receiving that energy coming back to you. From myself, from Jeanie.
I'm very sensitive, and so yes, I can feel it, and then I'm very grateful.
Breathing with you.
Thank
Honored
you.
to be here and support you. And to affirm your connection to humanity and your very humanity. Here to support you in that 100%. So let's just take a minute and breathe into that space, that energy. And then from that space and being in that connected place, the next thought in the worksheet comes from David Bohm, a physicist, who speaks about what he calls sustained incoherence. And this sustained incoherence, basically, as Bohm defined it, was that we have a certain way of thinking, and we keep thinking that way regardless of the evidence that proves that it's our thinking that's creating the problem. And so just acknowledge at this point to your own mind, because, in Aramaic, you are neighbor to yourself. In Aramaic, you as a being have a self that is a product of the mind, and that self needs to be taught, needs to be upgraded till it matches who you are. And that recognizing that these emotions are coming from a construct inside of you, and who knows, when I hear the story of what happened with your mom when you were 20, I can only imagine that this is, to just fathom a mom doing that to her son is kind of beyond my comprehension. And so my conclusion would be that this is something that your mom had no control over. It's a generational pattern that's probably gone on for who knows how long.
I completely agree with that. I've really investigated like a detective into this. And I am on board completely. I do understand these are my thoughts. This is not happening to me now. This is what I'm doing to myself. I'm attacking myself.
Yeah, but the event can happen with your boss. The event can happen with the Airbnb, and you don't have to be experiencing any of this.
Exactly. And it's all
that it's time to remove
up.
these thought disorders.
Yes.
Okay?
Okay.
So then it can be appropriate, because sometimes feelings are pre-verbal, to draw what your emotions are in this situation. So what would that look like if you were to draw it, just for your own use?
It was, and I've been doing that a lot more. It looks like a spiral that's a circular, but just chaotic and like uncoordinated, like what a child would do.
Incoherence.
Yeah.
So we can probably skip over, at the end of the 1C, where you write the problem out and you're instructed to breathe, that thought, if they're the one with the problem, why am I the one with the pain, is probably kind of irrelevant for you at this point because you're pretty clear. You've done enough work to be clear as to where this is coming from. So then let's go to 1D. So my thoughts are the cause of this upset. The thought, so if you think about this sadness, or let yourself really experience this sadness and then let your thought move into that arena, what's the thought that you think to experience this depth of sadness that you're talking about?
The thought is almost like I must deserve this on some level, even though I do not know why. Because life is delivering this to me, as like if I was a child.
Okay. So that sounds like a message that would come either actively from a power person, that the message is given, you're broken, there's something wrong with you, or it can be passively received as, gee, as a result of this behavior, I make up that I deserve it. And just let yourself.
Okay. It seems
Go ahead
like
and say that again.
It seems like it's mixed, like a thought disorder, like a cluster of embedded dysfunctional thoughts. So to really unwind this, it would be good to pull out the Power Person worksheet and go through the Power Person worksheet as well. Yeah. Am I offering? Okay. So number 2, punishment. Is there punishment involved toward mom or self? Self. Is there a punishment thought? Yeah, like the punishment thought would be, I must deserve this, so this must continue. Okay. So that would tend, I think, more to be the thought behind the sadness or tied in with the sadness. But is there some part of you that has wanted to lash out at mother or separate from mother? Or yes. There's been. What would it be? It would be to withdraw completely from any contact. Okay. So then when you withdraw? Yeah. And then is there a punishment thought towards self based on this whole scenario that you laid out? Yeah, if I do that to her, or if I do, almost the punishment thought I get is I must on some level have deserved this, so therefore it's okay to continue feeling excessive amounts of guilt and regret and vacancy inside. So there are 3 new worksheets. Guilt, for sure. Regret, vacancy. They're all reflections of the thought disorders underneath this. Yeah. And make note for those additional worksheets. Okay. You got the biggie here, haven't you? Got the what? This worksheet's your biggie. This is like one of your major core life issues. Oh yeah. And I think this segues into my father, who was born in Germany and raised in Germany and was right at the tail end of World War II, and he was the one that was completely abandoned by his mother and drinking out of mud puddles when he was 2 or 3, and having to stay in a Catholic orphanage and getting abused. And he's a recluse, very, very smart, but avoids all triggers. And I feel like this is like an epigenetic pattern. Sounds like it. Right on track, yeah. Okay, so then in the box, after you put down that punishment thought towards self, the hand points to verbal release. One of the things that happens is that most of our realities as humans are formed
based in words. Once we get past the infant stage, they're based in words. And verbal release can be a powerful way to eject energy from the system. It can at first seem like, well, so I say those words, but so what? But if you work with it and practice it, verbal release, literally, you can begin to direct energy, literally, out of your system. So then that release and surrender, and the idea is to take each aspect of step one here, myself, the emotion, the story, the thoughts, the punishment, and the person involved in 1C, to do a verbal release. So I release and surrender myself to love. I release and surrender the emotion of sadness to love. I release and surrender my mother to love. I release and surrender. So how about just going through each of those steps and do that part of the process?
Do you want me to
silently or out loud? Either way. Either way, you could do it out loud or just silently.
Okay, I'm going to do it silently.
Okay, we'll hold the space.
Thank you.
And breathe in with you.
Okay. It's like I literally feel like my body just wants to start shaking.
Go for it. Let it move.
Yeah.
That can be a powerful way of the body letting go.
Yeah.
So let it move as it needs to. Sometimes when abuse happens, the state of the body when the abuse occurred, excuse me, I just inhaled a little bit of water.
Okay.
The state of the body, or the positioning of the body when the abuse occurred, it can require the body going back into that position to let the energy go. So just pay attention to what your form wants to do and let it happen.
Okay.
Then, having laid out number one, the thing to do at this point is to recognize that whenever hostility or fear are the active energy in the mind, the perceptual construct of the mind that results from that is based in corrupt data. And nothing it tells you is true. It may have happened, we may have experienced it as a reality, but it's not the truth. And so recognizing that, step 2A, what I want to do is, number one, honor truth. So then stepping into step 2A, I choose to honor truth and willingly face and process out all disease-producing energies from all my relations or generations. And so recognizing that this is a generational pattern is a powerful insight. And if you just go ahead and speak those words, speaking them have another level of power to them.
Yeah, I do recognize this is a generational pattern.
So go ahead and do 2A. And then B, I willingly go through the physical, mental, emotional symptoms of healing, recognizing that this is, as you appropriately classify it, epigenetics, is a generational pattern. In stepping into the willingness to process that might mean that you will experience some of the literal terror and trauma that your father went through in such horrendous circumstances as he was raised in. And you may at this point become the vessel or the vehicle for processing that energy out that can also liberate him from it. So breathing with you as you step into willingness, and remember on a physical level, healing looks like any kind of physical symptom you've ever had. You could drop into low energy. On a mental level, looks like any kind of negative thought, confusion. On an emotional level, any kind of negative feeling or depression. So just step into the willingness to do that.
Okay, I feel like I'm there.
Okay, awesome. Then number 3, this, and I'm saying this not just for your sake. I know you've got the brain cells for most of this, or all of it, but for others who are listening, just so this makes sense, is that, there's some Harvard research that says that in a time frame where 10,000 brain cells are firing, the maximum amount of data that goes into our mind's construct, our perception, is 9 bits. So a very tiny piece of information goes there. And once one recognizes that, then you have to figure out, well, how do I get to what's in that 10,000 brain cells that are firing if I'm only seeing 9 bits? And the recognition comes that the driver, the thing that determines, obviously if there are 10,000 units of information available and the mind is only using 9 pieces of it, something must determine which 9 pieces. And what we've discovered, or what Yeshua presented 2,000 years ago, is that what drives the process is our goals.
Right.
So you want to look at the constructive result with Mom in that situation. If your mind could make up what would be the ideal, wonderful, loving, everything would just be fabulous result in that situation you're doing this worksheet around, what would it be?
To be supported, cared for, and loved by my mother.
Okay. And is there a more direct, like I could imagine that the thought that comes to me was it might look like something that might be more direct, might be that Mom just steps up and embraces me and holds me.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, basically.
So whatever fits there. And the reason why you want to refine and look at the goal is because the more precise the goal is, the driver is, the more profound the worksheet will be, And I suspect that, when you share what happened with your dad, which is, unfathomable, that for that little boy to have experienced a female figure that could come and embrace him would have been just beyond comprehension.
Yes. So I changed it to be embraced and supported by my mother.
Okay. And what happens with your breath as you think about that?
It's flowing, but yeah, my body is shaking, but I do feel love.
Good.
I feel the presence of love for sure.
Okay. So that taps right into step 4. I'm purposely, consciously bringing in another level of the direct experience of love present within me.
Yes.
And it's that presence of love, when I get to the action step of the forgiveness, it's that presence of love that's going to dissolve the underlying energy that's held in those thought disorders and in that unconscious experience.
Yes. I mean, I do choose love as my essence.
Okay.
Which there's love in
step 5. I'm with you on that. And you've got a whole community that's pointing that energy at you right now, supporting you.
Yeah, I'm very grateful.
And if we were closer, we'd be reaching our arms and embracing you as well.
Yes.
So number 5A is kind of a review of what happens. So when I'm upset, my perception is built out of corrupt data driven by my goal. It's a limiting picture constructed of an index of 9 bits of information out of 10,000 brain cells firing. And by canceling my goal, my replicate mind, the mind that just replays whatever's in it, collapses. The reality there collapses. And that gives me direct contact with those hidden parts, the denied, dissociated parts of carbon-based memories, which always, wants to blame someone else. So the action step is now, while holding love, conscious, active, and present, which we're all holding the space with you, I now choose to collapse my mind's lies by willingly canceling my goal. So you bring your answer from number 3 down here to 6 and cancel your goal for it.
Okay.
And then the second step over in the right column, I cancel my need to be right and make up another story out of these brain cells to hallucinate proof that my fear or hostility-based story, my reality, is true. So you want to really, one of the things the mind can do once you let go of it, because it's a habit device, it can go back and, want to generate more of the same. So just becoming cognizant, I'm ready to be finished with this pattern, is the idea of canceling that need to be right and make up another story. So just jump in and do that if you would.
Okay.
And then 5B, what terms fit for you with Ruka Kucha? What do you usually put in that space?
I just put like RDK, just abbreviations, and
cool.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm inviting that super processor, and just go ahead if you want to step through those steps to incline me toward healing.
Yes. Quick.
Restore me my newborn essence, love. Yeah, go for it.
Heal my denial. Heal my capacity to generate deep sadness. Let me open a direct conscious relationship with and gently remove the denied, disassociated, and projected parts of my carbon-based memory.
Yeah, good breath. Good breath.
Yeah.
How's that feel? What are you feeling physiologically now? And if the show cuts us off, I will call you.
Okay. I do feel relief, less intensity, and a sense of inner strength.
Nice. So if you would fill in 6A and B with that, I got this feeling of inner strength and relief. That's awesome. And still breathing with you. And then in 6C, is there a time when you had the opportunity or would have been appropriate for you to step forward and extend your love to somebody and you withheld it?
Yeah, I believe.
Does that ever happen?
My mother. Yeah,
okay.
Towards my mother.
So then go ahead. If there's a specific time you have in mind, I remember that Christmas and she was in tears and I knew I could have and I resisted. Whatever the details of that would be, just as a reminder here.
Yeah. I did it towards my mother when she admitted that she did do this, but she doesn't understand why.
Sounds like she was functioning out of her trauma.
Yeah.
Well, that'll probably be a rift that can open for some healing. To have that insight to see that.
Yeah.
And then step 7, principle of the universe is that by giving, I first get the original. So this is, knowing what your father carried, what you carried, what your mom's carried, what an opportunity to lift this load from your family system. So I feel gratitude for the fact that you've got this opportunity, and if it works for you to tap into that. And, there's only one idea in the whole worksheet that's repeated twice, and that is I choose truth. That's so important to let go of the constructs of the mind that are based in corrupt data. So I choose truth and perfect love. And then from that space, is there a goal that you can set toward your mom around this whole issue, around this whole situation?
I think if I'm able to hold and extend love and breathe, I can start from there.
Okay. So then you're going to set that up as a goal toward your mom. Whenever you think of her, to be able to soften, send love, and breathe.
Yeah.
Nice. And then the final step, because our time, I'm feeling grace from the radio show that hasn't cut us off yet, is the box again with draw your feelings. How does that drawing look now?
Like more of a perfect circle than squiggly lines going towards the center as a spiral.
Coherence. That's awesome. Yeah. Nice. And then the wording in that box, I commit to love, to living a human life. To help achieve this, I do a mass canceling of all the times I wanted number 3 from someone. So think of any and every time in your life, maybe there's a girlfriend that you had that didn't reach out and embrace. Every time in your life, and just put their initials in that blank line and cancel the goal. It's kind of like you got the roller coaster going. If you can take any and every experience you've created where that someone didn't extend that love to you and cancel the goal in that situation, you'll just move this whole energy pattern out of yourself on a whole other level.
Yes, I will have to spend some time on that with a lot of
awesome
initials. Yeah.
Awesome. Nice work, my friend. That's a powerful piece of work to do.
Yeah,
I congratulate you for being willing to work on that level. Say again?
Thank you. I never had my body shake like that since I think I was in 10th grade, experiencing a lot of trauma.
So what I hear is your next worksheets due will be around the 10th grade trauma that you experienced.
Yeah.
You're being informed that underlying this experience was what happened in 10th grade. Yeah. So I'd go back to that and do those worksheets and see where those ones lead.
For sure.
Awesome.
I appreciate
Powerful
it.
Piece of work, my friend.
Yeah. Thank you.
Delighted and honored. Glad to be here for you, and I acknowledge your courage and have great gratitude for the fact you've shared this worksheet with everybody. I think it's a powerful experience for everyone.
Yeah.
And in return, we keep extending the space in your direction for whatever the next layers of healing are going to be around this.
Okay.
And I've got a video in mind that I'll text you.
Okay.
There's a video that we have on the commandment, honor thy father and thy mother, which sounds like some kind of well, why would I do that if they don't deserve it? And the video gets into the idea that, that whole demand or requirement that you do that was not about what you do toward them, but that when you can honor is a different level. If you look at the ancient command that says have love for, or at least the Greeks talk about loving the creator and neighbor, there's a different demand for us toward parents, and that is to honor. And honor means to bring love into behavior toward them, because when you do, especially if they don't seem to deserve it, by doing that, you bring love into a deeper part of your own process, in the deeper part of your own mind, where that unresolved power-person dynamic, if there are any tentacles of it left, that's how you tend to clear those out. So I'll send that video to you when we finish the show.
Okay, I greatly appreciate that. Anything to
help? All right,
help.
my friend.
Thank you.
All right. All right. Thanks for calling in. Have a blessed one. Lots of love.
You too. Bye.